The United States is a vast landscape teeming with wildlife. But perhaps there's more creatures out there in the forest, swamps, and waterways that exist just outside of scientific explanation. I'm your host, Leah.
Phil here.
And I'm your host, Steve. Today, we explore just the sampling of the cryptids that we call American monsters.
If you have an appetite for the strange and bizarre, then pull up a chair and grab a spoon for another intriguing serving of Remnant Stew. Remnant Stew is gluten-free, organic, made from all natural, free-range ingredients, and guaranteed to provide the recommended daily serving of curiosity.
But now, before we jump into that, let's take a look at the calendar. Gosh, it's already the middle of April. Can you believe how time flies?
Man.
Well, tomorrow, April 12th, this is a great day. It's National Big Wind Day.
Woo-hoo!
Yay!
Wait, natural?
Not natural. National Big Wind Day.
Is it natural wind?
Well,
or is it like, windbag day?
Yeah.
Is it what it
it has nothing to do with politics.
Could say man-made, but hey, whatever.
It's the time to recognize the biggest gust of wind ever recorded on the surface of the Earth. This was on April the 12th, 1934, at the Mount Washington Observatory and Weather Station in New Hampshire. And how fast was this gust of wind? It was 143.5 miles per hour. That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Now, for decades, that was the strongest wind recorded until 1996. This is when a typhoon struck Australia, recording a massive 159 miles per hour. It's actually pretty impressive that a weather station can record that gust and still remain standing.
Right?
Yeah, we get hurricanes here,
right.
And the wind is really bad, and I don't think it gets, I think 100 miles an hour is pretty
that's
pretty
by
bad.
The time it
Pretty
gets,
fierce,
by the
yes.
time it gets to Greater Cut and Shoot, it's about 100.
Yeah, it's cut down a little bit by the time it makes it over the Gulf and
Right.
through the woods to get here.
It
through the pine trees.
Tags a few land masses, but hey.
Right. But nevertheless, so happy Big Wind Day.
Big Wind Day.
Now, I love this day, Friday, April 15th. This is Jackie Robinson Day.
That's a good
cool.
day.
This day is a traditional event in which commemorates and honors the day Jackie Robinson became the first black player on a major league team. And it's celebrated in Major League Baseball ballparks where all players, coaches, and even the umpires wear Robinson's uniform number 42.
Yeah, they do.
By the way, if you've never seen that movie 42, it came out, I think, 2013. It's a really terrific movie about the story of Jackie Robinson and Branch Rickey, Branch Rickey, the owner of the Dodgers. Here's a fun fact. Jackie Robinson was also one of the first black officers in the United States Army during World War II.
Cool.
There were a lot of black soldiers, but hardly any black officers, and he was among, I think, in the first class.
Wow.
Okay, so the 16th of April is our full moon, and it's called the pink moon because of the flowers and the phlox that blooms in the early spring. And other names include sprouting grass moon, fish moon, hare moon, and the old English Anglo-Saxon name is egg moon.
Oh.
It's known as the Paschal moon. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that.
Paschal moon, yeah.
Because it's used to calculate the date for Easter. And I had to look up the word Paschal. It means anything to do with Easter. And so that brings us to April 17th, which is Easter Sunday.
Yeah, we talked about the calculation on the previous episode.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yes.
Good luck, folks.
So what do you guys do on Easter? Do y'all have any traditions other than like church?
Well, I've got 11 grandchildren, and so there's usually a lot of egg hiding. Although some of them are teenagers now, but there's still a lot of little ones. So there's always an egg hunt, usually at our house somewhere. And ham, I guess, is a other Easter tradition.
Right.
Yeah.
Ours is just gathering with family, and
Yeah.
the Easter egg hunts are usually done at the others' homes.
Okay. Well,
Mine's in college, so yeah.
Everybody comes
kinda
out to my house the day before. We don't do Sunday because I got to have my Sunday night nap, okay? But so Saturday, they all come out. We used to do Easter egg hunts, but all the kids they're not kids anymore. They're all adults. So,
right.
So we hadn't done that in a while, but I love Easter. I love just getting together with family. So
if you put $5 bills in those eggs, I bet they'd get out there and look for them.
I know, but they're going to have to fund their own because I'm not doing that.
It's a potluck.
But we did used to, when we did have the Easter egg hunts with the candy, a couple of the eggs did have some cash.
Oh, that's always an extra prize, a surprise when that happens. Well, now, next Thursday, April 21st, this is a great day. This is National High Five Day.
Sweet.
Yeah. Come on, you throw me a high five, Phil.
For all those people that can't
we need to make it louder. They didn't hear it. Oh, that registered, I bet.
That's going to blow somebody's eardrums out.
There are several stories about the origin of the high five, but the only one recognized by Remnant Stew is the one that involves our own Houston Astros manager, Dusty Baker.
Absolutely.
The first high five occurred at Dodger Stadium on October 2nd, 1977, between Glenn Burke and Dusty Baker on the last day of the regular season. This high five was in response to a home run hit by Baker. As he rounded the bases and approached home, he and Burke enthusiastically jumped in the air and slapped hands, creating a cultural phenomenon. So,
dun, dun, dun.
Happy High Five Day. When I lived in Seattle, there used to be a local comedy show on called Almost Live, and they had a feature called High Five and White Guys. It was hilarious. YouTube High Five and White Guys, and it's worth looking at. And then the 23rd of April, next Saturday, is National Talk Like Shakespeare Day. Hark, methinks 'tis the hour to quoth like the bard.
Oh, my goodness.
How was that? Pretty good?
Might not go very far.
National Talk Like Shakespeare Day falls on the 23rd, the day of William Shakespeare's death. Shakespeare was born sometime in April of 1564 and is probably one of the most famous playwrights and poets that has ever lived. He is known for his 39 plays and 154 sonnets.
That's right.
That's just a few.
Just a few. I had a great time in London a few years ago, and actually got to go to the new Globe Theater that they built. That's a replica of the original Globe, and so it's a great experience. But the only thing is, the seating was about as it would have been in the early 1600s, and so they sell seat cushions extra. So if you ever go, make sure you get the seat cushion too, because it's a little bit hard and narrow.
So so like back then, I think when Shakespeare was doing plays, and I could be wrong, I needed to look this up beforehand, but I think all of the actors were male. Yes. Correct?
Oh,
yeah,
maybe so.
They were all male, and so even the female characters were played by male actors.
That could be. Yeah, it could be.
I've heard this too.
Yeah.
Okay, so the United States is a large nation spread over a vast landscape that includes plains, mountains, forests, and countless lakes, streams, and rivers. And the people of the U.S. are just as diverse, teeming with many different and distinct cultures and peoples, as it is steeped in the rich history of our various and widely different indigenous peoples. And when the old world beliefs brought from home countries across the ocean meld and blend with the deities and devils of the various Native American cultures, you get quite an assortment of things inhabiting the forests, rivers, and lakes.
Yeah. Just a few.
That's right. That spread across this wide country. So we're going to take you on a tour of the different regions of the U.S. and tell you the stories of the cryptids that dwell there.
All right. But first, what are cryptids exactly? Well, according to a website called, it's arogis.com. Arogis, I guess. Arogis.com. The word cryptid refers to creatures that are believed to exist without significant proof. This term has been widely used since the early 1980s, but sightings and claims of the unnatural have haunted the globe for centuries. Another website called cryptidsfandom.com, cryptidsfandom.com.
Actually, so it's funny because you and I research separately, and we both ended up on that website. So a lot of our information comes from it.
Comes from there.
But it's not, it doesn't have the S, it has a Z. So it's cryptidzfandom.com. So it's cryptids.
Cryptidzfandom.
With a Z. With a Z.
Sorry about that, Cryptid Z. Anyway, they list over 200 different named cryptids from around the world, and they're actually listed alphabetically from the A boa A ku, which is a shapeless squid-like thing from Malaysia, to the Zuiomyrocarcus, which was the remains of some sea creature netted by Japanese fishermen in the 1970s. Well, anyway, the website notes that cryptids tend to be grouped into the following categories. First one, hairy humanoids.
Like Phil.
Hey.
No more so.
No.
Then there's your giant bats, dinosaurs and pterosaurs, dragons and dragonoids, reptilian humanoids. Ooh, I hate to run into those. Yeah, and carnivores, and then varying. There's also just a category of varying miscellaneous cryptids.
Yeah.
Much of the information that we reference during this show comes from cryptidsfandom.com. That is cryptids with a Z, so good. It's a self-described cryptid wiki. Another source is Cryptids of North America, which is also that aerogus.com. We have so many resources to pick from that in order to limit the scope of this program, we're going to just focus on North American cryptids. Perhaps later we'll make a broader international search.
We might have to do it by like hemisphere. maybe continent.
Antarctic cryptids coming your way. Go ahead.
So, okay, and just a couple of notes before we get started. One, when people hear the word cryptid, I believe most people think of
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, that's right.
Hey, yeah. So, Sasquatch. Or at least it's my name for it.
A Sasquatch. Well, and that's funny. That's what my kids call you.
Yes,
Sasquatch. I know. Or at least in the U.S. they do. I think in England they think of Nessie.
Yeti. Yeah, Nessie.
Well,
right.
I think they think of Nessie though.
Right.
Anyway, but here in the United States, like almost every region of the United States has sightings and of Bigfoot or Sasquatch or what have you. And there's even a Bigfoot museum in Hastings, Nebraska. Did you know that? And a Bigfoot Discovery Museum in Felton, California.
I got asked to be in a hairy chest contest once.
Oh, my gosh.
I said I didn't want to put them to shame.
Oh.
Those poor guys. They thought they had testosterone.
Moving right along. So creatures like the skunk ape, Sasquatch. Sorry. Skunk ape. The skunk ape. Sorry. Sasquatch, the Yeti, what have you. Anyway, because he's so well known, we're going to stay away from Bigfoot as well as the Mothman of West Virginia because there's so much info out there. Most people know about these. Instead, we're going to tell you some stories of some local monsters you may not have heard of.
Right.
And secondly, the United States, like I said, is huge. So we're going to break it down into its various unofficial regions and highlight a cryptid or two from each region. So let's start in the upper left-hand corner of the country, the Northwest.
Oh, well, that's a great place to start because, that's when I think of Harry and the Hendersons, you think of the Great Northwest for sure.
Harry and the Hendersons, for those that don't know, that's a Bigfoot movie. It's a
Bigfoot movie from
and
1988.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's still entertaining today.
It is very entertaining. So the Northwest United States includes Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Alaska. The area is also known as the Pacific Northwest because it's bounded by the coastal waters of the Pacific Ocean. I've personally never been there, and I want to go so badly.
I lived there for a few years. A beautiful place. Really beautiful.
I picture it to be perpetually misty and rainy and with large areas of untamed forest.
That's pretty accurate.
Okay, okay.
Pretty accurate.
And for those of you not from the United States, like all the colonists came to the East Coast. And then, so that's our most densely populated area. And then they just spread out across the West.
Right.
And so the further west you go, like the more sparsely populated things get, and also to the north, the more sparsely populated things get until you get to the West Coast. And then right along the West Coast, everybody stops.
Populated again.
Populated again. Yeah.
We hit the end. This is called an ocean.
Right.
That's right. We are starting off our list of cryptids with one that's a little silly. It's reported to be an endangered species of cephalopod.
Silly cryptid?
No. Say it's not so.
An endangered species of cephalopod that was given the scientific Latin name Octopus paxarbolus lolo, I think.
Well, all right.
It's silly enough.
Roughly means Pacific tree octopus.
Sounds like a striptease dancer. I'm not sure what.
Oh, my
I got a tear. That was awesome.
The Pacific tree octopus is purported to be able to live both on land and in water. The Pacific tree octopus goes to the water of Puget Sound or even the freshwater rivers nearby to spawn and lay its eggs.
Okay.
And then as the octopuses mature, they move out of the water and up into the trees in the Olympic National Forest.
She gets around.
All right.
Okay.
There are some odd things out on the Olympic Peninsula, I will tell you that.
Well, I mean, and get this. Okay, so this has got to be a site. Uses its tentacles to swing from branch to branch like a monkey.
Yeah.
And they only return to the water during mating season. And their major predator is Sasquatch.
That makes sense. That all lines up, doesn't it?
The tree octopus is actually an internet hoax created in 1998 by Lyle Zapata. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Zapata.
Yeah.
There is an entire website devoted to the saving of this endangered species. It's zapatapie.net, and it's among a number of websites commonly used in internet literacy classes in school. Like, I don't know why. And so I asked my daughter, Tori, who's 14, she's in 9th grade, if she'd heard of this. And she goes, oh, yeah, we saw that website. And so, like, this website's used for educational purposes.
This is what a hoax looks like?
Right.
But it's a really put together website.
Nice.
It's not one of these, conspiracy theory websites.
Right.
Anyway, there was one instance in which an entire class of 7th grade students were convinced of the existence of the tree octopus.
Yeah, my only issue would have been the fact that, they have to, their skin needs the water. But it's in the Northwest. I'm sorry, folks.
Well, the water hangs in the air up there.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
just hangs out.
Well, and there's a lot of weird animals, like the fish that can walk across,
Yeah.
And so
why not?
I mean, if you're learning all the time about new animals, and then why not? Maybe it is real. Okay, so unlike the tree octopus, which was found to be a modern hoax, this next cryptid that hunts its prey in the rural areas of Montana, very sparsely populated state, has been around for a long time, as its origins is in Native American legend. And a lot of our cryptids start in Native American legends. The Shunka Warakan is said to sneak into tribal camps to gobble up dogs. In fact, its name carries off dogs in the Iowa language. The Iowa are a northern or Native American Sioux people.
So somebody probably ate the dog and said, no, it was the Shunka Warak.
Dog barked too much next door.
No. We don't know what happened to that. Shunka Warak took that dog away.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Listen, so
got us off track here. Let's get back on.
They actually have a specimen. Okay, so listen.
Wait, what?
You got to listen.
That got my attention.
The monster is wolf-like with high shoulders sloping down to low haunches, similar to the build of a hyena, and represents a threat to livestock. Unlike most cryptids, a Shunka Warakan has actually been killed and displayed. A Madison County man by the name of Israel Ammon Hutchins encountered the beast on his farm. He said it put up quite a fight with horrible screams and terrible ferocity to the end, but was finally downed by a rifle bullet. Hutchins had the animal stuffed by a local taxidermist. The trophy was put on display just across the Idaho border, where it remained for nearly a century. In the 1980s, the remains went missing, but were eventually tracked down and returned to Montana by Hutchins' grandson, Jack Kirby, in 2007. So the Shunka Warakan has been blamed for the deaths of more than 120 Montana sheep and injuring many more during the years of 2005 to 2006 alone. So wildlife services became involved and actually killed a beast in the late 2006. Initially, Montana wildlife officials were unable to identify the 106-pound reddish-yellow animal, with the head of Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Wolf Program stating, frankly, it has mixed characteristics. DNA testing later, though, proved that the specimen was actually a domestic wolf with unusual coloring.
I see.
Interesting.
Testing, however, has never been done on the Hutchins stuffed beast. According to grandson Jack Kirby, preserving the mystery and the legend might be more important than solving it. In a 2007 interview, he responded to the issue by saying, do we want to know for real?
Well, that other one being a wolf-like, actually a wolf with different coloring, might give you the opinion that that's what they were seeing in the past, but you just don't know.
Yeah, you just really don't know. Next, we are moving on to the western part of the country.
All right. I love it out west.
Even though it includes only the 2 states of California and Nevada, and now these are unofficial.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you say west.
These are our remnant stew groupings.
Yeah. But even though it only has those 2 states of California and Nevada, it covers a large amount of land.
That's a lot of territory.
Forests, mountains, and arid desert. The cryptid I'm going to tell you about, though, was actually seen in an urban area and appeared on surveillance cameras.
Ooh.
Fresno is near the geographical center of California and is densely populated and the nearest major city to Yosemite National Park.
Okay.
A creature that is an extremely thin white humanoid with no discernible arms and has long legs has been sighted and come to be known as the Fresno Nightcrawler. It walks with its knees bending backward, toward the back like a bird. The strange cryptid was first witnessed by a man named Jose. After being woken up by his barking dogs, Jose observed the night crawlers on his front lawn through CCTV. He woke up his brother to re-watch the footage, and after the initial sighting, the original CCTV footage was lost. The only remaining footage of that is a grainy video recorded from the monitor of that. And Phil, I'm going to have you look at this. This is that video. Look at, and you guys look at, these things are so weird looking. You just describe what they look like.
Okay.
Something looks like it's walking up.
Yeah, kind of a kangaroo look.
Kind of saddled, like a saddled legs or something.
Yeah.
It's like left to right.
Interesting.
I want to say it looks like a crazy looking sheet.
A sheet?
Yeah, like the legs are covered in some 70s.
like bell bottoms kind of thing.
Bell bottoms,
okay.
Pants
Okay,
kind of thing.
yeah, I can see that.
Bow-legged
It's a lost hippie.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe, yeah, that's...
It's odd. Okay, so if you guys want to see the video, like, just look up Fresno Nightcrawler.
Fresno Nightcrawler.
A similar but larger creature was seen by a 60-year-old former Marine and his wife while driving. The unnamed witness said he's like, please don't use my name.
Don't put my name on that.
But he did leave a quote. He said, "We recently bought a place in the Fort Hill area. We first noticed after about 30 days of living there that we suddenly have a perfect circle that stays fresh green no matter what the weather is in our front yard." I don't know what that has to do with any of this. But on Friday night, December, which is December.
Sorry.
I know.
I've got an idea here, but it's a restroom spot for the animal.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know why his lawn has anything to do with it. But they were driving on Friday night, which was December 12th, 2014. He says, we were driving home. After turning on Carmel Road, which leads to our road, we went around the curve by the Carmel Church and then up a small incline, and approximately 10 feet over the incline and in front of our truck, the alien, as he describes ran across the road and into the woods. So you can find, like I said, video of the Fresno Nightcrawler, and to me, it looks like a pair of flowy white pants with a head. Went out for a stroll in the moonlight.
Yeah. There was no waist. There was no torso. It was like the head arms. And there's no arms. Yeah. And so it's like it's the head. And this, I keep coming back to the rubber band people from the Muppets.
The rubber band.
I'm not familiar with that one, Phil.
Yeah, I can't. Is it the yup? Okay, all right. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Maybe I do.
So there have been other possible sightings of the Nightcrawler in other places as well, like Ohio and even Poland. 2 of the creatures appeared in security footage walking through Yosemite National Park, which is near this. One was small, estimated to be less than 2 feet tall, and the other one was much taller. Some explanations to the creature is that it's an alien from outer space. So that's what the Marine obviously thought it was. A new species with very short arms and long legs. Get this, a deer walking upright. Can you imagine? Like, I'm thinking this video wasn't a deer.
Yeah,
that
look like
wasn't
a deer.
Much torso.
No. or a person wearing big pants walking on stilts. There have been some videos of Fresno Nightcrawlers that are known to be hoaxes, but the ones I mentioned are not considered to be hoaxes.
Just the unexplained.
That's right.
Dun-dun.
Well, now let's move on to the great southwestern part of the United States. That includes Arizona, New Mexico, the western parts of Oklahoma and Texas, and the southern parts of Utah and Colorado. This arid area is characterized by prairies, deserts, canyons, and mountains. I really love this area. Each summer, my family gathers in the mountains of West Texas. My wife and I spent our honeymoon in Arizona in a beautiful place called Oak Creek Canyon between Sedona and Flagstaff. This region, with its rugged landscape, has naturally spawned numerous cryptid sightings. And that would include the Mogollon. The Mogollon Rim is an area of steep mountain ridges covered with ponderosa pines located some 100 miles northeast of Phoenix, Arizona. This vast landscape is said to be the home of Arizona's own Bigfoot, the Mogollon Monster. The Mogollon Monster was first sighted in 1903 by a fellow named I.W. Stevens. Stevens reported that he came across a wild man while taking a trip to the Colorado River. He shared his encounter with the local paper, the Arizona Republic, in vivid detail. According to Stevens, he stumbled upon footprints and, with further investigation, came across a large, pungent man along the cliff's edge. The man had white hair down to his knees, a coat of white fur, claw-like fingernails, and flaming green eyes.
Oh, wow. So, okay, that's interesting that, like, in the South, you got the white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's usually a northern, like, a Yeti or an abominable snowman.
Yeah, may be lost. Anyway, additional reported sightings include the following. In the mid-1940s, 13-year-old Don Davis, while on a Boy Scout camping trip, wakes up to find the monster foraging the campsite and eventually standing over him while he hid in his sleeping bag. Davis is now a reputable cryptozoologist. What is a cryptozoologist?
That's people that study cryptids.
Oh, well, okay, good.
So,
well, then it probably piqued his fascination right back then. Well, anyway, 2006, Colette Altaha of the White Mountain Apache Nation claims that sightings on the reservation are increasing and cannot be ignored. And then in 2014, an unnamed sociology student spotted the monster drinking water on a hiking trail near Payson, Arizona. The student attempted to take a photo, but the monster ran off into the canyon. Descriptions of the Mogollon monster vary from an exiled chief cursing the rim to a fierce wild man known for decapitating large prey. The monster is also said to have a piercing scream and the ability to mimic other animals. That's a pretty good trick right there.
That's interesting.
All right.
Yeah. To date, there is no concrete evidence proving the validity of the sightings or refuting the idea that the Mogollon monster is just an angry bear.
A white bear.
So
like
angry white bear. He's
a
really
polar bear.
Well, that's why he's angry. He's lost in the desert. Nevertheless,
Get out.
visitors to the rim are encouraged to beware of what lurks among the pine trees and bring a bear or monster-proof cooler when they're camping.
Yetis.
to protect your food, because that's important.
Yeah, because they're after it.
Just
now, a little further east, we couldn't certainly pass this one up because of our mascot, Sir Kraken, is a petrified octopus, but we wonder if he has any relation to the Oklahoma octopus. Ever heard of that one? Oklahoma octopus is a cryptid generally said to inhabit some freshwater man-made lakes of Oklahoma, including Lake Thunderbird, Uluga Lake, and Lake Tenkiller, where it attacks and kills unsuspecting swimmers.
Oh, gosh. That is so creepy.
First of all, to me, when you name a lake Tenkiller, you're just asking for trouble.
Right.
You know?
That's the truth.
There's no existing footage of it. According to cryptidfandom.com, no physical evidence exists of the Oklahoma octopus. Many point to the high mortality rate and the large number of unexplained drownings in the Oklahoma lakes as a clear sign of its presence. There has also been numerous reported sightings. According to the rumor, this freshwater cephalopod is about the size of a horse and resembles an octopus with long tentacles and leathery reddish-brown skin. Due to the lakes being man-made, the drownings are most likely the result of people getting drunk and not paying attention while swimming. Also, drowned victims have no sucker lacerations on their bodies, so,
So they find the bodies later.
May not be real. Yeah, they find the bodies after they've been drowned. So.
Except the ones they don't find.
Right.
That's the real victims.
Right. Now, we can't leave out our own great state of Texas in this explanation of cryptids. And that brings us to the Lake Worth Monster.
I haven't heard this one.
Yeah, the Lake Worth Monster is a cider-like creature that terrorized the people of the city of Lake Worth in Texas in July of 1969. Lake Worth is just outside of Fort Worth area, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A few couples that had seen the Lake Worth Monster were the first to do so, and soon on it became a phenomenon. Reporter Jim Mars followed up on the story and wrote an article which made front-page news. The headline was, quote, "Fishy man-goat terrifies couples parked at Lake Worth."
A man-goat, huh?
A man-goat.
And they can write headlines up there, can't they? Well, anyway, the couple described it as a goat man, like with fur and scales. John Reichert's car was supposedly damaged by the Lake Worth Monster after it jumped out of a tree. As proof, he had a 1.5 foot long scar on it. Yeah, really, Dad? Come on now. It was the monster jumped out of the tree. That's where that scar came from.
You're grounded.
You should have been there. The police finally decided to investigate, yet came up with nothing. Only one day after Reichert's incident, reports came in of a creature hurling a tire from a bluff at bystanders.
Did it come off of Reichert's car?
Might have come, yeah, who
We
knows?
just talk about the scar on the car, not that it missed a tire.
Missing tire, too. But then a few months later, a man named Alan Plaster took a picture of the Lake Worth Monster, which is the only photograph evidence of the creature. We have that here. We'll post
That's
it up
right,
there.
we
Yeah.
do, and
Yeah.
it looks like what was the it looks like the Mogollon.
Yeah, it
It
kind of looks
does.
like him.
It's white.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of
got
grainy.
its back to the camera, and so we'll see. We'll post it, and you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
I
it
don't
for
see
yourself.
I don't see the goat parts yet.
I don't
No.
either. It looks like a big white.
Furball.
Yeah.
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 The grainy image shows a large white body. However, no further sightings occurred after that. KDFW, a Fox-owned television station in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, did a lengthy report on November of 1999. This would have been the 30-year anniversary of the original sighting of the Lake Worth Monster. It interviewed some of those who saw it, such as reporter Jim Mars and another person named Sally Ann Clark. The report announced that some high school students admitted to the police that they had pranked people by dressing up in a gorilla suit
See?
and parading around the lake in 1969. So, it sounds like an awfully good prank to me.
That's hilarious.
That
Okay,
and-
so
that and you've not been discovered as being the gorilla. It's that's
yeah, so where did the goat come from?
I don't know. Maybe he was carrying a goat.
But when you're scared,
You'll see
when
anything.
you'll see it. Yeah.
Of course, there's always little stories about couples who are out parked, and what they see, something that scares them.
And now for something completely off topic and off kilter. Brace yourself for the oddity du jour.
Now, for our oddity today, have you done any flying since the pandemic began?
No, I really haven't.
Nope.
My wife and I flew to Chicago last July, and she recently just returned from flying to Seattle to see some of our grandkids up there. Well, when you do fly, you might want to take a second look inside your luggage to make sure that you're not carrying anything that would be banned. Evidently, not everyone has done this, though. From a website called newsnationnow.com, we find an article titled, "The Top 10 Most Unusual Items Confiscated by the TSA in 2021.
Oh, no.
newsnationnow.com. That's got to be a good website. Well, of course, the Transportation Safety Administration works hard to keep us safe while we are in the skies. And that's why they diligently check for dangerous items that might find their way aboard an airplane. Now, back in 2020, that was certainly a strange year for travel. The TSA reports that the most unusual item they found for that year was a dead baby shark floating in chemical preservatives. I wonder if that same guy, remember that guy in Florida for one of our episodes who had all those jars of tongues?
Yeah, that's right.
He just changed
Now he's
it.
got sharks.
Hey, at least he remembered it was in his luggage.
Okay, now we've got, we're going to do this like Dave Letterman countdown style. The top 10 most unusual items found in 2021. Number 10, bullets concealed in a deodorant stick.
Okay. Because they're not going to see that through the
Right.
X-ray.
That was at Atlantic City, New Jersey, by the way. We'll put the spot where these were found. which kind of adds to the fun, I think.
Right, exactly.
You would agree? Yes.
Monsters.
Good. Number 9, a long-barreled antique-style revolver, also in the state of New Jersey, only in Newark this time. I wonder if they knew the person with the bullets and the deodorant.
Was it the same flight they just got off?
I don't know. Now, here, just down the road from the greater cut and shoot area at Houston Hobby Airport, crystal meth and a breakfast burrito.
Okay, yeah, I can see that happening.
More often than they want to admit.
Yeah.
Probably so. Yeah. Number 7, firearm concealed in a belt buckle. And now you would think that would be in Texas, but oddly enough, that was in Honolulu.
What? Was it a Texan in Honolulu?
I don't know. It might have been on his way home. I'm not sure. Anyway, number 6, a well-worn cleaver in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I love the way they described it. A well-worn cleaver.
Not just a new one.
No, not a new one. It's been used pretty well. Number 5, a canister of bear spray. That was in Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Because the bears there are just unbelievable. But, I could see you taking over an airplane with a can of bear spray,
Probably.
Get in the cockpit, move over.
You just don't need you just name that spray for hunting animals or whatever. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if this was somebody from our government, from Washington Reagan Airport. Somebody tried to get on a plane with a machete, along with ammo and a canister of butane fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Yeah,
a machete.
A machete.
Ammo,
and butane fuel. Trying to get on the plane with this. Yeah.
None of these things go together.
I don't know. Well, yeah, they do, because none of them should have been on the airplane.
Agreed. There you go.
Number 3, a large assortment of fireworks from Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
Imagine that. You're not going to be able to get on a plane with this.
I love this one. From Sacramento, California. A wine bottle holder made to resemble a cluster of revolvers.
Okay, so say where that's from.
Sacramento, Sacramento.
That's crazy. Like that sounds like
wine country. Yeah,
that sounds like from Houston, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah,
like
I'm just thinking, FedEx, UPS. I mean, they'll pack it, guys.
And the number 1 strange thing found by the TSA agents in 2021. This comes from New Orleans. A chainsaw.
Those crazy Cajuns. That's awesome.
That was a good list. Thank you for the TSA for the fine job that you do.
Wait, was there fuel in the chainsaw?
Yeah, maybe it was part of the butane fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
They were going to connect with the guy with the machete.
Hey, we just want to take a minute to ask all of you out there a favor.
If we've ever made you laugh or made you think or taught you something that you didn't know before, well, we are grateful for your participation by sharing our podcast with your friends, your family, your circle of contacts. It means a lot to us.
Anyone else will listen.
Anyone else that you think would enjoy learning in our style of podcast.
It would mean the absolute world to us. This is how we get new listeners, is by word of mouth.
That's
so
right.
We would so appreciate it.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all of our listeners. And if you really enjoy podcasts, here's another one that you might be interested in.
Riddle me this. Why was the 8-month-old cadaver of Pope Formosus dug up and put on trial at St. Peter's Basilica? And which foreign leader stole a pocket watch from Winston Churchill? For these answers and more, tune into the History Obscura podcast. This is the place where history's forgotten secrets are unshelved from my vast firelit book repository and reintroduced into the world. Learn stories of ancient UFO encounters, royal troublemakers, martyrs, and monsters. Join me every Saturday night for a fresh tale. That's History Obscura Podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, now back to our cryptids. And let's journey up to the great Midwest part of the United States. That includes the states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky. There's your home state, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, and Iowa. and the northern part of Missouri, and the eastern parts of Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. This is America's breadbasket, covered with millions of acres of agricultural grain, such as corn, soybeans, and wheat, and also been the scene of some very unusual cryptid sightings. Well, again, according to the above-mentioned Argus.com, in 1893, a surveyor from Grand Rapids, Michigan, named Eugene Shepard, was tromping through the woods of northern Wisconsin when he came across a stout beast with razor fangs, giant horns protruding from its head, powerful claws, a horned tail, and an unsightly face.
Now that's
Quote,
just mean.
From
Unsightly face.
From quote from Mr. Shepard said, "It is so ugly that it can't even bear to look at its own reflection."
Wow.
I've had mornings like that. But
if this picture of it is accurate, it looks like you want to put a saddle on this thing. It's sturdy.
Well, anyway, the most astonishing thing about this fearsome creature, according to Shepard, is its diet. It likes to eat lumberjacks.
It's very discerning.
Right.
That's not a lumberjack. That's just a hippie.
Shepard called this creature the Hodag, capital Hodag.
Sure, why not?
So he began writing a column for a newspaper called the New North, which was located in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. He kept adding authentic and bona fide details about the Hodag. He encouraged woodsmen to carry citrus fruit into the woods with them, as the Hodag was afraid of lemons.
Okay.
How does he know?
He's eaten a lemon before. Have you ever given a lemon to a dog and all of a sudden they're afraid of it?
Anything yellow? But
did he have one when he first met the Hodag?
I don't know. No, that kind of added on to it. I think it was from a later encounter with the Hodag that he discovered lemons make an excellent repellent. Well, anyway, soon Hodag sightings were reported throughout the upper Midwest. Shepard even claimed that he had captured one. In his column, he stated that he would be putting it on display at the upcoming county fair. For only a small admission fee, fairgoers were led down a dark passage to a dimly lit room where in a cage lay the dark form of the Hodag. At first, the exhibit was very popular, but then people began to be suspicious. After a while, Shepard was forced to admit that he had made the whole thing up and that the form in the cage was actually made of wood. There wasn't a lumberjack-eating monster after all. The local price of lemons tumbled.
Now, I watched a thing on this. I knew about the Hodag before today.
Well, that hasn't stopped the people of Rhineland from celebrating the Hodag. A large statue of the Hodag stands in front of the Rhinelander Logging Museum. A folk operetta called Hodag was written and performed in 1964. Man, I wish they would revive that.
Come on,
we need to.
It'd be great on
have a road trip to Wisconsin to see the Hodag operetta.
I want to audition.
Oh, and more recently, they even mounted a Hodag for President campaign. Well,
Yeah, that had a different connotation in other states.
And by the way, Rhineland builds itself as, quote, home of the Hodag.
They have really embraced this. And so, and I think the reason that Shepard did all this was to bring tourism and things like that, and just make a big deal. Right. But okay, so I watched a show on this, and it's funny because I think he had like members of his family back there in this when it was on display, and they would like move the log around and go. Right.
They would bump it.
And so, yes. And so, no, not surprisingly, people became suspicious.
Especially when the voice changed after you've been through it 2 or 3 times.
I mean,
Hang on a second, folks.
Okay, staying on track.
Well, staying in the Midwest. Now, this one, I have to say, is really interesting, I think. Staying in the Midwest, we encounter the strange story of the Van Meter monster. The name comes from the town where the monster was sighted, Van Meter, Iowa. The story of the Van Meter monster begins around the same time the town was established. In 1903, U.G. Griffith observed a mysterious light on the roof of the Mater and Gregg building. At first, he assumed the light indicated the presence of burglars, but as he got nearer, however, the light moved to the other side of the street. At that, he went home and fell asleep. A few nights later, Dr. Alcott was visited by a light in the middle of the night. He went outside to investigate its source, and he saw a half-human and half-animal creature lingering behind the light. The creature was described as having, quote, great bat-like wings and a single blunt horn. Dr. Alcott grabbed his gun and shot at the monster, but evidently missed. Then it was the banker's turn. Clarence Dunn, the local banker, brought along his shotgun to watch over the bank. Around 1 a.m., Mr. Dunn was surprised by a powerful blinding beam of light coming through the front window. It moved side to side, scanning the room, and then returned its focus on Mr. Dunn. The banker fired off his shotgun to the body behind the light through the bank's front window, but the source of light simply disappeared. By the morning of that same day, outside the bank, Mr. Dunn found sets of large, three-toed footprints. So we have a businessman, a doctor, and a banker, all very well-respected members of the community who all claim to have encountered this creature. In the coming nights, more and more townspeople are visited by the Van Meter monster. Fear increased, and townspeople began to organize themselves to fight the monster. One night on patrol, they happen upon the Van Meter monster's lair. There they see more than one monster, and they decide to stake out the location in hopes of slaying them all. As dawn breaks, a creature with huge bat-like wings is spotted, and guns are fired toward the beast. Again, it seems the townspeople missed. The creature released a noxious odor that made some of the townspeople gag. Some believe that they saw the monster fly into an abandoned coal mine. The townspeople assumed that the mine must be the location of the monster's lair, so they quickly worked to seal off the entrance. After that, no more sightings occurred. For the past 120 years, many have speculated what the creatures were, but no satisfying conclusions have been reached. So, that's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
You've got you don't just have a bunch of kooks, but you got some pretty respected people, who have seen it and, saw it go into mine, seal it off, and now no more creatures. So what it was could have been some kind of creature living in the mine. Okay,
so we have a picture of it, but I think
it's a drawing.
No. Okay, so no, it looks like a photograph. But I don't know if it's an actual photograph or if probably not.
I think it's a touch.
But I think it's just to illustrate.
The building
what it
is
like.
real, but the monster.
I think that it looks more like a gargoyle.
It does. It does look like a gargoyle.
But take a look at Van Meter monster and dig into that story a little deeper. It is pretty interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to break in here and say that a lot of the creatures that we're telling you about today are known to be either hoaxes or mythological creatures based in local tradition. But some creatures have been known to skulk their way out of the misty realm of lore to the other side of science and discovery and be recognized as real bona fide members of the animal kingdom. And so Komodo dragons at one point were cryptids.
Right.
They were thought to be mythical until 1910 when one was killed and shown to scientists. Oh. Explorer W. Douglas Burden wasn't happy with that, and he traveled to the island of Komodo in Indonesia and brought back 2 live Komodo dragons, which were then displayed at the Bronx Zoo.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So can you imagine, hearing about this cryptid, and then somebody just goes and captures one and puts it in a zoo.
Right.
Ta-da!
So, it's really real. Oh, no, this one, you're right, it is especially hard to believe even when you see it.
That's right. Okay, so the platypus. Yeah. We're talking about this mashup of different animals and stuff like that. And
it's made of spare parts.
So if that doesn't describe the platypus, I don't know. So can you imagine seeing one for yourself and then trying to convince someone else what you saw was real?
No, really, it was a duck.
It had a duck and
like
beaver,
a beaver,
and that's
and it lays eggs.
And lays eggs.
And they're like, you were just drinking. But really, so the first time a platypus pelt and sketch of the animal was presented to scientists, they were convinced it was an elaborate hoax. It wouldn't be accepted as real until years
later,
after that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then have you ever heard of an okapi?
Okapi, right.
It's one of my favorite animals. It looks like a small giraffe got caught in a rear-end collision with a zebra stampede. It's known as the forest giraffe and looks to be a blend of a zebra, donkey, deer, and antelope. Rarely seen and hard to find, the okapi spent a long time as a cryptid until it was accepted to the animal kingdom in 1901.
I think they are in South America. Is that correct? Where the okapis are?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not real sure. Other cryptid-turned animals are the mountain gorilla, the giant squid. I think we've talked about that before. Yep. And then now there's the colossal squid. So even, you know, we knew that squid existed, but the giant squid, sailors would see it occasionally. And scientists are like, yeah, whatever. But now we know, we've seen, and I think we started seeing it in the remains of whales' stomachs, okay?
Right, yeah.
You know, and stuff. And so, but now we know that there's an even bigger squid out there. And the kangaroo. The kangaroo was a cryptid. And I got this information from Mental Floss and also blogs.iu.edu. And the IU stands for Indiana University.
Go Hoosiers. Okay.
So there you go. So some of these cryptids that we're talking about, like a hodag,
could be actual animals that we just haven't pinned down yet.
That's right.
Interesting. Well, now let's go to the southeast part of the United States. That includes East Texas, including the greater Cut-and-Shoot area, as well as the states of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and South and North Carolina. This is a region of swampy marshes, dense, spooky forests, large, muddy rivers, and imaginative people.
Absolutely.
And humid.
Of course, it's also the home of many interesting cryptids. Now, our next entry comes from the state of Arkansas. Actually, I've seen a lot of scary things in Arkansas.
Yep.
Rest stops on I-40 between Little Rock and Memphis, but I doubt that those could be classified as cryptids. Maybe close, I'm not sure. You may have heard of the White River in Arkansas. It's really a very beautiful river that flows through the Ozarks and in the northern part of the state. It was the site of several Civil War battles and a questionable business deal that cast suspicion on the Clintons back when Bill was the governor. But you may not have heard of the White River Monster. The White River Monster is an aquatic cryptid known from the White River in Newport, Arkansas. The first recorded sighting of Whitey, as they call him locally, are from 1915, but the creature has allegedly been seen since the American Civil War. On July 1st, 1915, a plantation owner spotted Whitey, stating that it had gray skin and was, quote, as white as a car and 3 cars long. Sightings didn't happen again until 1971, when a variety of descriptions emerged. One witness said that the creature was gray and had a horn protruding from its forehead, while another description made a note of its spiny back. So what is it?
A piranha.
Well, according to cryptozoologist Roy P. Mackay, Mackal, M-A-C-K-A-L, the creature is nothing more than an elephant seal that entered the White River through the Mississippi River. That's kind of a disappointment. Come on, Arkansas.
That's not what this illustration looks like. It looks like one of those deep sea fish with all the teeth.
Yeah, right? It's just missing the light bulb off its forehead.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, the mixture of a narwhal and a piranha.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, now, our neighboring state here to the east, Louisiana. I have some wonderful friends from Louisiana, but if you've never been to Louisiana, it's in many ways like a whole different country.
That's right.
Maybe even a different planet in some kinds of ways. It's
unique, doesn't even qualify.
Yeah, it really is. There's no place quite like it. The swamps are beautiful but eerie. It isn't surprising that such landscapes can give rise to epic mythic tales like that of the Rougarou.
I love the Rougarou. And I have to mention that Harbin Gould that helps us out with our trivia challenge questions. He lives in Louisiana.
Well.
Does he have
coincidence? I think not.
Does he have a pet Rougarou? Come on, Harbin. You know you do.
From visitcryptoville.com, that's all one word, visitcryptoville.com, we learned that no matter how you spell or say it, Rougarou, R-O-U-G-A-R-O-U, or it could be R-O-U-X-G-A-R-O-U-X.
That's the Cajun way.
That's the Cajun way. Or just R-U-G-A-R-U-O-O. They might say Rougarou. Or R-U-G-A-R-U. Or even Loup-garou. L-O-U-P-G-A-R-O-U. I think that's got the French spelling there.
No.
Well, anyway, it's a werewolf-type creature living in the folklore of Cajun French Louisiana. The story was actually born in France in medieval times when they actually believed in werewolves. These stories were used to keep children in line and out of the woods. Later, in the 16th century version, people viewed the phenomena of the Rougarou as a genetic disorder rather than something that you could, quote, catch from someone else. or be cursed into by a witch. According to this genetic version, a person's life would be normal until whatever happened to trigger the condition turned on. The person's body then enlarged and they developed a craving for raw meat. In order to complete the final transformation, the person, Rougarou, had to take a bite of human flesh.
Dun, dun, dun.
As the French set sail and settled in Quebec, in Canada, and then later in Louisiana, in the American South, the story came with them and mutated. In modern times, though, throughout Cajun Louisiana, the beast has developed several consistent characteristics. It is described as standing between 7 and 8 feet tall, has horrible sharp teeth, and glowing red eyes. You wouldn't want to run into him out in the swamp, I don't think. It becomes its animal form on the nights of the full moon. It could be anyone, neighbor, librarian, dentist.
Harbin Gould.
Yeah.
There you go, Harbin.
No wonder he got all those trivia questions right. With all the storms and flooding in recent years, it's thought the beast made its way into New Orleans because some city residents there claim that they have heard terrifying growls at night. Well, isn't that where Bourbon Street is?
Count of St. Germain.
Yeah.
Oh, the count.
Yeah,
There's
he's
the
back. According to Professor Barry Jean Ancelet, an expert in Cajun folklore at the University of Louisiana Lafayette, the legend of the Rougarou is common throughout the area. Professor Ancelet indicated that the Rougarou is said to prowl the swamps and bayous of Louisiana as well as the area around New Orleans itself. He added that it has the body of a man and the head of a wolf dog. Besides using the tails to keep children in line, it was also used to keep Catholics in line.
Okay.
There's a story that goes, quote, if you don't observe the strict rules of Lent for 7 years in a row, you'll automatically turn into a Rougarou.
Maybe I'm a Rougarou.
According to
Hey, Paul.
According to retired English professor and folklore specialist at Nicholls State University in Louisiana, Patricia Perrin, quote, the most common motif is of a nighttime exposure to the Rougarou. The person who encounters the Rougarou draws 1 to 3 drops of blood. That person then has the spell. In most cases, the next victim knows the Rougarou in their human life form. At that point, after the bloodletting, the former Rougarou tells its attacker that they must not mention this encounter to anyone for 1 year and 1 day. If they do tell someone else, they themselves will turn into a Rougarou.
That's a complicated
I know.
turning.
Yeah, I already lost
That's
track.
interesting.
Who's biting who? I don't know. Anyway, Professor Perrin adds, nowadays the Rougarou plays a similar role to the boogeyman in other cultures. People of Louisiana want to hold on to the story, but people with an education don't want others to think that they are crazy, so the Rougarou kind of plays a significant role in their Cajun culture, kind of like crawfish boils do. So it's part of their cherished culture in Louisiana.
Yeah, their legend and their lore.
Right. Now let's travel to the mid-Atlantic states, including Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York. These were among America's original colonies and homes of the first European settlers. The new continent proved to be fertile ground for both cryptid legends brought from the old country as well as new vivid creations in the colonists' fertile minds. Now we're going to talk about South Bay Bessie. Lake Erie is bordered by the states of Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Canada to the north. It's one of our Great Lakes and is famed to be the home of Bessie, a large snake-necked creature spotted on the lake in different locations from Canada to Pennsylvania. It was first spotted in 1793. One such incident happened in 1817 when 2 French settlers discovered a beached monster nearing its death. They described Bessie as a huge monster, 30 feet in length, shaped like a sturgeon. When the brothers returned to the scene, Bessie was no longer there. Large scales shaped like silver dollars remained in the sand. Another incident occurred when a ship heading to Toledo from Buffalo encountered a sea serpent. Approximately 50 feet in length, the serpent slowed its movements to observe the ship's crew. The crew described the serpent to be approximately 50 feet long, with 4 feet of its neck and head sticking out of the water. Recent sightings have occurred, but have generally been written off as hoaxes. Bessie continues to evade our cameras to this day.
Oh, cool. So it's the cousin of Nessie.
Bessie and Nessie, yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I have one for the Mid-Atlantic state of Maryland, the Snallygaster.
Oh.
I think this wins the prize for the best name. It sounds like something hiding under a kid's bed.
Yeah. I've heard it, the Snaggletooth Snallygaster.
Oh, there. That's a specific species, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Snallygaster doesn't like the underbed space or closets, as far as I know, but this dragon-like beast prefers the hills surrounding Washington and Frederick counties in Maryland, and traces its origins to the German immigrants that settled in the area beginning in the 1730s.
Oh, good.
Once I realized that the Snallygaster was German in origin, I had a good idea of where its name came from. The early settlers were terrorized by a monster they called a Schnellergeist. Schnellergeist, meaning quick spirit.
Oh. Okay.
So early on, so I knew Geist meant ghost.
Right. And
that's where
quick. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where we get our word for ghost. Early on, the creature was described as being half reptile, half bird, with a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth.
That sounds formidable.
Right?
A metallic beak. That's interesting. Yeah. It's sometimes people imagined it had octopus-like tentacles, and it was nocturnal, and it would like fly through the night and swoop down and carry off its victims. It was also thought to be a bloodsucker. The fear of the Snallygaster persisted, and many people in the area used 7-pointed star hex signs on their barns to ward off the beast.
Oh.
The area is known for its tradition of the barn hex signs, and many can still be seen today. For some reason, the legend was revived in the 19th century. It's been suggested
they were bored. Let's bring it up again.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's suggested that it was brought up to frighten freed slaves.
Oh, to keep them from coming through there.
That's right.
I see.
So there were early 1909 newspaper accounts of encounters with residents that described the monster as having enormous wings, a long pointed bill, claws like steel hooks, and an eye in the center of its forehead. So it's a cyclops, too.
Right.
Wow.
No depth perception. Got it.
When it spotted prey, it's said to emit a sound like a locomotive whistle. The recent sightings stirred the people to action, and the hunt was on. The Smithsonian Institution offered a reward to anyone who would bring in a Snallygaster hide, and the U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt reportedly considered postponing an African safari to personally hunt the beast.
Oh, okay.
Snipe hunting was born.
It was later revealed that these reports were part of a hoax perpetrated by Middleton Valley Register editor, so a newspaper, local newspaper editor, George C. Roderick, and reporter Ralph S. Wolf in an attempt to increase readership. But I'm sorry to say that there's been no reported sightings of the Snallygaster in recent years. So I don't know.
I still think Snaggletooth Snallygaster is
right.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name. So moving to our last area of the United States, the Northeast. This area is the most densely populated part of the country, containing the states of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. While much of the Northeast is urbanized with large cities, the area still has many forested and mountainous terrain, plenty of monster habitat.
Of course.
So one such area is in Massachusetts. Nearly everyone has heard of the Bermuda Triangle, right? And it's an area off the coast of Florida known for strange occurrences such as UFO sightings and the disappearance of ships and airplanes. Right. Well, in Massachusetts, there's a similar, albeit smaller, triangle of strangeness, the Bridgewater Triangle. The area, known for reports of bizarre creatures, UFOs, and other weirdness, covers about 200 square miles between the towns of Abington, Freetown, and Rehoboth.
Okay.
The triangle includes Freetown Fall River State Park and Hockomock Swamp, where these incidents and encounters take place.
Once again, you name a place Hockomock Swamp, you're asking for trouble.
Well,
and I guess the locals, the pretty much everyone else just says it's swamp gas. You have problems with.
Well, okay, so to wait until you hear what this cryptid's called. So, one of the things said to inhabit this area are puckwudgies.
Puckwudgies.
Yes.
Not wedgies, but wudgies.
Puckwudgies. Like a lot of the cryptids we've discussed here, the origin and name is tied to local Native Americans. In this case, the Delaware and Wampanoag people. In their language, the word puckwudgie means little wild man of the forest.
Puckwudgie.
The creatures were part of Native American traditions and are said to be dwarf-like hominids with gray skin, large ears, fingers, and noses. They are
gremlins.
Yeah, kind of like gremlins. They are said to have all manner of magical powers and abilities, including being able to disappear, shape-shift, and to create fire at will. According to lore, Puckwudgies will shove people off Assinet Ledge in the Freetown State Forest.
Wait a minute. Assinet Ledge.
Are you going to throw shade on that name, too?
Puckwudgie hangs out at Assinet. Okay, go ahead. I got it.
But they will throw people to their death.
Yeah.
Even if they are small and have a funny name, Puckwudgies are clever and wicked, and the Native Americans believe that they were best left alone, you think?
I guess so, yeah.
Or you run the risk of drawing their attention and being kidnapped, attacked with spears and knives, or thrown off the ledge to your death. Even today, the people in the community surrounding the Bridgewater Triangle give a certain amount of respect and space to the Puckwudgies. And you know what? I have to just say that there was a serial story podcast about the Bridgewater Triangle, and Puckwudgies were part of it. It's by Aaron Mahnke, who is kind of my, I don't want to say hero, but who I look to is a podcaster. Right. And he did this, and it was just amazing. So if you want to hear about it, I mean, if you want to listen to the story, it's Bridgewater. It's a fictional serial storytelling podcast.
Nice.
Anyway, so that's going to do it for this episode of American Monsters. But know this, for every weird creature we talked about today, at least 10, 20, or even 30 or more were left behind because we didn't have the time.
Or we don't know about them.
Or we don't know what they haven't been discovered yet. So if you're alone in a cabin in the woods one night and have some spare time, here's some other cryptids to look into. One of my favorites that we didn't get time for is the chupacabra. Yes, the goat sucker.
Right.
Then you have the Wendigo, the jackalope, skinwalker, mothman, and big bird, not affiliated with Sesame Street. And the list goes on and on. So happy Googling there.
There you go.
And now it's time, boys and girls, for the Trivia Challenge.
Okay, so we have an answer to one of our trivia questions.
Yay! Somebody answered it.
This is
You are feeling lonely.
This is the trivia question from our episode on Nellie Bly.
Oh, great episode.
And the question was, in spite of a hunting accident that left her disabled, this woman became one of the most successful spies in World War II, as well as the most highly decorated female civilian during the war.
You mean somebody knew that answer?
Who was she? Yes. Diane DeBarros came up with the correct answer of Virginia Hall.
Nice.
Nice going, Diane.
There's some weird and crazy socks headed your way.
How about that? Well, for our trivia challenge, you know how this works. Like and follow our Facebook page at Remnant Stew Podcast. Like and share this episode post. Put your answer to the trivia challenge question in the comments of that post. The first person to do all of that will be the winner and will be mentioned in an upcoming episode of Remnant Stew. So what's our question today, Leah?
Okay, this comes from Harbin. These young hominid cryptids were first sighted in 1996 in Abilene, Texas. Then there was a spike of sightings in 2013. Now they have been seen across the nation and even internationally. What are they?
Ooh, wow.
Interesting.
And you do not want to run into them.
Oh. Didn't your daughter go to college in Abilene?
I was going to say college students.
That's what the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay, check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at Remnant Stew Podcast. Drop us an email at staycurious@remnantstew.com, or just say hi, or let us know about any topics that you'd like to hear us cover in upcoming episodes.
Remnant Stew is created by me, Leah Lamp. Dr. Stephen Meeker and I research, write, and host each episode along with cringy commentary by our audio producer, Philip Sinquefield.
You're welcome.
Theme music is by Kevin MacLeod with voiceover by Morgan Hughes. Special thanks goes out to Judy Meeker and Harbin Gould.
Now, before you go, please hit the follow button so you won't miss an episode. Head on over to Apple Music and leave us a review. We love seeing those reviews. Share Remnant Stew with your friends, your family, your cryptozoologists, your Puckwudgie, and your explorers. Wait a minute, I messed that up. And that thing under the bed that needs to start paying rent. Until next time, remember to choose to be kind and always stay curious.